Moldova faces multiple Russian threats as it seeks EU membership. March 10, 2024. The past 2 years have been the hardest and most tumultuous for European Union candidate Moldova in more than 3 decades, as it faces threats from Russia in multiple spheres of public life, the country's foreign minister says. Since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, its neighbor Moldova has faced a litany of crises that have at times raised fears that the country is also in Russia's crosshairs. These included errant missiles landing on its territory, a severe energy crisis after Moscow dramatically reduced gas supplies, rampant inflation, and protests by pro-Russia parties against the pro-Western government. Moldova has also taken in the highest number of Ukrainian refugees per capita of any country. This past 2 years, without exaggeration, have been by far the most difficult in the past 30 years, Mihai Popsoi, appointed foreign minister in late January, told the Associated Press. Moldova gained independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, but Russia continues to see the country, sandwiched between Ukraine and EU member Romania, as within its sphere of influence. Moldovan officials have repeatedly accused Russia of conducting a hybrid war against the country, funding anti-government protests, meddling in local elections, and running vast disinformation campaigns to try to topple the government and derail Moldova from its path toward full EU membership. Russia has denied the accusations. Last week, Moldova's National Intelligence and Security Services Agency said it has gathered data indicating unprecedented plans by Moscow to launch a fresh destabilization campaign, as Moldova gears up for a referendum on EU membership and a presidential election later in the year. We know that the Kremlin is going to invest a lot of energy and financial resources through their proxies to try to get their way, said Popsoi. Tensions have also periodically soared in Moldova's Russia-backed breakaway region of Transnistria, a thin strip of land bordering Ukraine that isn't recognized by any UN member countries, but where Russia maintains about 1,500 troops as so-called peacekeepers, guarding a huge Soviet-era weapons and ammunition stockpiles. Shortly after the war started, a string of explosions struck the region. An opposition leader was found fatally shot in his home last July, and anxiety soared last month when some feared the region would ask to be annexed by Russia. Instead, the region appealed to Russia for diplomatic protection amid what it said was increasing pressure from Chisinau. Popsoi acknowledged that the situation with Transnistria is tense, and he worries that the speculation could adversely impact investment. The situation will remain tense as long as the front line is 200 miles away, he said. When we look at the energy security of Moldova, 2 years ago there was very little, he said. Now Moldova is quite independent, or has alternatives and can choose where to buy gas and electricity. The same can be said, he added, for his country's defense capabilities, the resilience of key institutions, such as intelligence, police force, and justice reform. Moldova is moving in the right direction despite enormous challenges. It feels like a geopolitical race in which Russia is trying to stop Moldova from moving toward the EU, while Moldova tries to fend off Russian influence until it joins the EU, he said, adding that the authorities have been much more open about acknowledging the danger Russia presents to the country's democracy. European Council President Charles Michel delivers remarks to journalists in the European Council atrium in Brussels on December 14, 2023. EU leaders voted to open membership talks with Ukraine and Moldova. In the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Moldova applied to join the EU and was granted candidate status. In June 2022, in December, Brussels said it would open accession negotiations for both Moldova and Ukraine. A significant number of Moldovans still live under the spell of Russian propaganda, which has made a boogeyman out of NATO, Popsoi said. But that doesn't stop us from cooperating with our NATO partners and building resilience in our armed forces. Since the war started, Moldova has received critical financial and diplomatic support from its Western partners, but needs long-term investments, Popsoi said. The referendum later this year on EU membership aims to gauge where Moldovans see their future. Officials have an ambitious target of gaining full accession by 2030.